myself.
Okay, that's for the minutes, right, Bruce and Bob?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hearing no others, we'll get into the agenda, and that's to review and approve the minutes of the meeting from November 17th, 2020. I'm assuming Phil and Tom, you guys had a chance to look at those.
Yes, I did.
Take a motion to approve those when you guys have a moment.
So moved.
I got a second.
I got a second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Bill, please remember when we're doing votes to do a roll call and ask each individual board member yes or no, please. Thank you.
Will do. Phil, will get a yes or no on the approval of the minutes.
Yes.
And Tom?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and we'll go into the superintendent report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll start with staffing update. So the department had 2 retirements on January 8th, 2021. Roger Bourget is one of those retirees after 21 years of service, and we wish him luck on his future endeavors. Mr. Bourget was in the Parks Department for most of that 21 years. He'll be sadly missed. He's a great worker for the department, and like I said, good luck on his future endeavors. Also, we had John Demersky, who retired after 33 years of service, and we wish him luck as well on his future endeavor. He was also a Parks Department employee as well. So thank you to both of those individuals. We also currently have 3 open skilled workers positioned within the department. We had interviews last week on January 14th. The department offered the position to Lucas Bodine and Kyle Fraga. Currently, as of today, Lucas actually accepted the skilled worker position last week, but today I received an email declining the position. He's going to stay with the Springfield Water and Sewer Commission. So we actually only have 1 new employee who obviously needs to go through the pre-employment paperwork and physical before he can join our forces here at the DPW. So we're wishing him some good luck, and hopefully we'll receive some more applications in the near future for our still 2 open positions within the department. On the operational note, the Department of Public Works will be picking up Christmas trees until January 29th this year. So spread the word if anybody asks. We are doing that service for the town. Also, the department has completed its annual town report for calendar year 2020. I believe you've all received that report. So also, which is going to be due in the real near future, is our annual statistical report. It's due in mid-March. This is for all the water-related items such as total water use for commercial, industrial, institutional, and municipal residential for the year, along with backflow connection reports, the emergency response plan, treatment of the town's water supply, and unaccounted water. Also, we are looking at our annual connection reporting. This needs to be submitted by February to the Springfield Water Sewer Commission and the DEP. This report is for all sewer connections in the town and the amount of I&I we have taken out of our sewer system. That's for inflow and infiltration. So I believe Felix has a rough total for everybody. I don't know, Felix, if you have that number in front of you to share with everybody.
You came in sketchy. I didn't get that last part.
On our I&I work this year.
What number are you looking for?
Yes, the number of inflow and infiltration that we have eliminated out of our sewer system.
I don't have a number in front of me at this time.
Okay. We'll get back to you on that, that portion. Also, Tier 2 hazard materials reporting is due in March. Mr. Christensen will be getting that out the door for the board's review in the near future. And then once our budget is approved for FY22, we will start our rates and fees for our next round of budgetary items. And that's all I have, Mr. Jelinas, for the superintendent's point this evening.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Fenny. And we'll move on to, unless there's any follow-up questions, we'll move on to the deputy superintendent report. Mr. Christensen.
All right. Good evening. How's everybody doing?
Well,
Lot of planning for the upcoming year. Obviously, we had a couple large paving projects that we didn't get to last year, so we're just spending some time to make sure that those are ready to go when weather permits. And we'll probably, I'd like to add Maple Street onto that list. We'll see how crazy the summer gets, but you know, with the water main work the last couple of years, we'd like to get that resurfaced, as well as trying out our new complete streets to try to get some bike lanes for some connection points from the rail trail to the high school and then to the town line and into Long Meadow. So other than that, we got our just doing our MS4 stuff for stormwater compliance. The big hurdle this year will be we got to finish our outfall screening, dry weather outfall screening. We got about 50 or so left. Those are due at the end of the fiscal year. And then we reprioritize everything, and depending on what contaminant hits we have, you know, starting to find some of those trouble areas that are causing, you know, pollution. So other than that, due to lack of funding from capital last year, we've asked DEP for an extension from some of our dates for the Allen Street landfill. We're in the talks right now. I actually just got off that's who I was on the phone with when I came on at 5:04. It looks like hopefully we could get a little bit more funding this year and at least get a design together so our guys can start clearing and, you know, just get the ball rolling. That's going to be a big project that expands many years, and it'd be nice to just get that going. Other than that, you know, just keeping it going.
Would you remind everybody, what are the big projects on the paving areas? What streets?
Oh, you don't remember, Phil?
Maybe a lot of people don't remember.
Yeah, it was about a year and a half ago. I feel like we talked about it. So the big ones are, we are doing Dearborn and most of the neighborhood north of Dearborn, which is Gates, Shawmut, Maryland, that whole area up north of Dearborn. We also have Denslow and the intersection with Shaker Road, and then a portion of Shaker Road to hook up with Pease, which we had done a few years ago. Woodbridge neighborhood, Sturbridge neighborhood, and Quarry Hill. And as I said, those have been bid out and contracts ready to go. I've talked to both contractors at this point. It sounds like we shouldn't have to rebid it. We can go with those bid prices and like I said, get going hopefully late March, early April, and then I'd love to get to Maple Street this year.
Thanks, Tom.
Yep.
okay. Thank you, Tom. Any other questions for Tom?
Yeah, I got a question. So some of the neighborhoods you talked about, Woodbridge and Sturbridge, I recall when those things went in, and I don't think they held up that great. And part of the reason is probably because of the water flow that occurs underneath. So when you have these neighborhoods, you kind of know that they kind of underperform. Do you take measures to put a bigger base down or deal with the water?
Yeah, so that's going to be a lot of these streets. We don't have a choice because there's not much of a base. So I think a couple of the problem areas a couple years ago, and unlike Parker, and you know, we had to get rid of that base because a lot of the subdivisions necessarily that went in that time period did not get built to spec, and unfortunately for us, we're left trying to solve some of those problems with whatever money we got in the hopper. So yes, Tom, if we start milling or cold planing or reclaiming a roadway and run into things that aren't up to spec, then yeah, we got to fix it while we're there, obviously. So that's sort of the go on the fly solution. But yes, that neighborhood, I think after the fact, they had added some under drainage, specifically up on Patience Way. Does that sound right, Daryl? And I think there's another drainage issue down on Chatham that we're going to fix in-house before we get to the paving.
I believe there was some under drain put in, like a curtain drain along the curb line.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Any other questions for Tom? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the Water and Sewer Administrator Report. Felix,
Hey, good afternoon.
good afternoon.
Bruce kind of stole my thunder. Yeah. Been spending a lot of time on all this reporting that we have to do with the DEP, the EPA, Springfield Water and Sewer Commission. There's a lot of reporting to do, a lot of figures I need to get. It's been taking a lot of my time. On the water side, our crews have been doing minor maintenance work as much as we can outside of the street, handling minor emergencies and meter appointments and stuff. Nothing major. On the sewer side, again, sewer main jetting, doing some easement inspections, manholes out in the easements, and trying to find problem areas in town that need to be looked at when the weather's better. Other than that, steady as she goes.
Okay, great. Any follow-up questions for Felix?
I have none.
All right, moving right along here, we got the Building Facilities Manager Report. Mr. Dunn, Joe, how you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Mostly the schools, trying to get the schools back ready to reopen today. We had to do a balancing report for the schools to try to figure out the airflow for the fresh air intake. We're still waiting on some reports for that. We had Ty and Bond go in, and they kind of looked at all our equipment to see if it's working up to the design specs, and everything was pretty good. I mean, it's old stuff, but it was mostly performing the way it should. So we're just waiting on a final report for them. And yeah, it's about it. Just trying to get those schools ready.
Okay, any follow-up questions for Joe?
Just one quick question, Joe.
Yeah.
Was there any specs given to you from the health department? What type of level of air quality they wanted in the schools before they were open?
Not so much quality, more volume.
Okay.
They want a certain amount of air. They want 6 air changes an hour in the rooms.
Are we achieving
So
that?
it's not. Excuse me?
Are we achieving it?
Most of the schools, yeah.
Okay.
So, and just to kind of segue from Joe's comments. So our initial report does show that most and all of the ventilation do meet today's standards based on the occupant loads and everything else within the buildings. But that's just our preliminary report. We did receive our balancing report from an outside contractor last week. So Tigan Bond is taking that report, putting it together with obviously the specifications and everything else on all our existing HVAC units, and to obviously share that with the school department, because I know a lot of the teachers and families that are going to school are just concerned and want to make sure that they feel safe in our schools, and the air quality and air exchanges do meet today's standards, and are safe to be occupied. So we're waiting to get that report out as soon as it becomes available.
Are you applying those same standards to the town hall, the library and stuff?
No, we are just doing it for the schools because of the occupancy loads. Typically in our town buildings right now, they are all currently closed. But Joe has obviously took the initiative to move forward with extra filter changes, cleaning protocols, custodial log sheets and everything else that goes along with town staff occupying the buildings to make sure they're safe as well.
Do we have any, I would imagine some of our HVAC systems have filters installed. Do we have to increase the amount of frequency we have to change those filters out, different kinds of filters, something along those lines?
We in the schools, we went from 3 changes a year to 5. They're MERV 8 filters. The MERV 13 ones they put a lot more wear and tear on the equipment, and they're probably 6 or 8 months out to get them because they just can't keep up to making them, because that's the different levels of filtration. So once that they came out with the recommendation for the 13s, they just went nuts, and you can't even get them now. It's just we're working on. We have once the new edition has MERV 13s in it at Meadowbrook, but the rest of it we're just trying to keep up with the MERV 8s and just keep more frequent changes.
And what we need to keep in mind too with those MERV 13 filters, which everybody wants, our equipment's old, so it obviously restricts airflow. Some of our equipment, you can't even put them in. It's actually going to starve the motor or overheat the motor. And based on even, I know myself and Joe have meetings with our department heads. So typically the transmission is obviously through droplets and everything else from your mouth and or nose. So that's really the transmission portion. I'm not sure where the HVAC came into play because I don't believe any transmission, and I'm not an expert or know of any cases that were spread through HVAC units. But like you said, we're doing our due diligence to make sure everybody's safe. And like I said, Joe's keeping up with cleaning and filter changes. So I think we're in good shape.
Okay, great. Any other follow-up questions for Joe?
No, I have none.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
Okay, we're going on to the Highway and Utility Manager report. Daryl, good evening.
How's everyone doing today?
Well, how are you?
Good.
Daryl.
Can't complain. Well, I'll start with as of right now. The Parks Department, as Bruce said, is we had the first round of a lot of trees there, and we've been dropping them off at the transfer as fast as we get them into the transfer station. As you can see, there's some starting to build up again, so we'll go make another rush to get the rest of those off the corners. Actually, one guy is working on mowers in the shop right now, trying to get ready for spring. So we got that stuff going, and they also I got a few of the guys from the Parks Department. They're actually down on the rail trail cleaning. Getting the brush cut back, so when the springtime and during the summertime, we're not getting bombarded with calls to cut the brush back on the rail trail. As the Highway Department, as well as the Parks Department working together, and the Rec Department put in a new skating rink in the center. We kind of helped out a little bit with that and kind of just gave Donna a little assistance to keep things going there so they could get that going for the town, which should be a great addition once the weather actually cooperates for us and the water freezes. We have a crew out most days of the week doing pothole repairs with the hot box. And then after any snow events or salt and sanding events, I usually have a crew in washing trucks and maintaining and I can't think of the word today. Salt neutralizing all the vehicles as we wash them and getting the salt out of them and checking all the chains and plows after we're done. And then I also have a crew out right now while the weather's working good for us is doing some tree work. Water and sewer side of it, as Felix said, they're doing markouts, meter appointments, doing manhole inspections out in some of the easements and a bunch of sewer jetting. As far as the stormwater side of it, Josh has actually been out doing some outfall inspections, doing some camera work, trying to find some I&I, and he's also helping with some of the markouts in areas that we're going to do some work in some outfalls and trying to get those dig safes called in and seeing if this weather keeps holding out the way it is, that we can maybe get in there and do some of the repairs on those. And Bruce kind of stole my thunder a little bit on the two gentlemen retiring. They're going to be greatly missed. Roger and John were veterans here when I started, and it's going to be it was a sad day to see them go. That's all I've got today, guys.
Okay, thanks, Daryl. Any follow-up questions for Daryl?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Good job, Daryl.
Yeah, I know. I sent an email to you guys on the couple storms we had. There was the one right before was the middle of December, I believe. Again, I think we said it last year. It's like driving through East Long Meadow and you hit Springfield. It's like night and day. It's Springfield's awful, I feel like, and our town does a great job clearing the road. So start contracting you for Springfield.
I appreciate it, and the guys putting hours. They put in some. Was not an easy storm at all. We were in the mix of a COVID issue here when that was going on. We worked through it. We gave up breaks to kind of make sure they get the rest they need and do it safely, and did the best we could. And I think we did a great job in making sure those roads were safe and clear for all our residents.
Great. Thanks, Daryl.
Thank you.
All right, now we have the review of the draft fiscal year 2022 operational budget. I guess, Bruce, that's going to be in your court.
Yes. Through the interest of time, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure how you want to go about this. I'll probably go through each division, okay, and probably just highlight on the items that have increased and decreased per line item. Is that how you want to go about this? And I can give you a total division increase or decrease per percentage for each department. And then
Yeah, I think if we keep it high level, and if we have questions, we can ask them.
Okay.
Just keep the overview high level unless we get specific about a question, I guess.
And then at the end of my presentation, if the board is comfortable on approving the budget as is, you guys can make that recommendation on voting on that at the end of this meeting, or we can schedule a next one, okay? All right, so we're going to start with the building maintenance division, building division 422. So under line item 5110 for full-time salaries, there's an increase for contractual obligation. That's why you see a 1.2% increase. The next line item, there was an increase, 5113 for appointed salaries. That's a percentage increase for salaried employees. Okay, and under line item 5140, longevity, that was increased because of years of service. So you start getting, I believe it's a $200 check for 5 years of service, and subsequently goes up based on the years of service. So we have some people within the building maintenance division that have reached that, I guess, that precipice or that next level for their longevity. Under 5584, other supplies, uniforms, that was a slight increase due to contractual obligations for our uniform contract. It's actually a 4% increase of the total budget, but it's only $100 compared to last year. So it's not really a significant increase. Under line item 5587, other supplies, newspaper, that's actually a 16% increase, 16.67 increase from $436.80 for last year up to $509. And that's just for the daily newspaper that we get for legal ads and things of that nature, for obviously reporting purposes for audits. So that gives us a total division increase of 1.05% under the building maintenance division. Can I answer any questions for anybody under the building maintenance division?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, we're going to start the highway division. Okay, under 5110, full-time salaries. That is a increase due to contractual obligations for the union. And that is an increase of 1.45%. Keep in mind, this is still, we are still not filling one of our positions that we didn't fill last year due to the COVID pandemic. So we're trying to keep the same level of services from last year, but hopefully we will be able to fill that position in FY23. Obviously, it has impacted the department. Under 5113, appointed salaries, there's a percentage increase for contractual obligation. That is for our salary employees. And that percentage increase is 1.86%. Under 5140, longevity, that is decreased obviously because of retired employees. So a lot that contributed to that is obviously the 2 retires we just had. So they're no longer getting a longevity check. So therefore, that's why that has decreased. Under 5191, under clothing. And let me find out, 5191, under clothing. So that is a 57.14% increase. And the reason for that is, this is for the guys, hoister's license, which is $75, their boot allowance, which is $275. Then for each employee this year, per their contract that they were awarded, they're getting $250 for their cell phone. So that's why the increase is substantial in the amount of about $4,000 for that. So that's a contractual item that was approved this past summer in their contract. Therefore, that's why that has increased. The next item under 5294, police details. This is increased from our original amount from FY20. And we actually have expended to date about $5,744.97. We needed to increase that actually back from our FY20 budget because obviously it just isn't enough to get through. It's going to get us through till next year. The next line item that there was an increase is number 5584, other supplies uniform. And like I said in the previous budget under the building maintenance division, this is for our UniFirst contract for our uniforms for our employees, therefore the increase. So this gives us a total budget increase for the highway division under 421 of 1.1%. Okay, any questions? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go on to the sewer division, number 440. Under full-time salaries, 5510. And I don't want to sound like a broken record when it comes to the salaries, but obviously it's given because of contractual obligations for the union employees. And that's roughly 2.09% increase from last year. Under the appointed salaries, 5113. This is an increase of 2.70% for salary employees for their raises. And then under line item 5130, overtime, that was decreased this year to help offset some of the other increases we had. And we typically don't use a lot of police details. So I used last year's number to try to decrease that line item to kind of match up what we actually spend. So like I said, I was trying to decrease some of the budget because of some of the other line items below, which we will get to next. Under line item 5140, longevity, that increased obviously based on years of service. So we got some certain individuals within the department under the sewer division that has met that that obviously yearly total. So there's a slight increase in our longevity line item at about, it's actually only about $300, well, actually $290, but it's an increase of that line item of 59.62%. Under the 5191, the clothing allowance, that, like I said, is for our contractual obligations with union employees. That's for the boot allowance, $275, hoister's license, $75, and $250 stipend for their cell phone. So that has increased roughly from last year about 78.57%. Last year was 1,400. This year it's 2,500. Next line item, 5241, vehicle repairs. We have increased that. Let me just find it, vehicle repairs. We have increased that line item due to maintenance costs in certain pieces of equipment that are assigned to that fleet. So last year was 20,000. We have actually increased that by $8,000 given the age of the equipment assigned to that division at a 40% increase. The next line item, 5270, rental lease of office equipment. So that's that is actually 5270. That is actually a new line item. So throughout the town, over the past year, we actually, I believe the town accountant, our previous town accountant went out to bid, I guess you sort of speak, for the entire town to rent and lease printers for the entire town, because everybody before that was kind of doing their own thing. So it's a cost savings for the town, but it's a new line item under this division. So this allocation is split between 4 divisions, between building, highway, water, and sewer. Okay, so it's roughly $1,175 this portion for this division. Next line item where there was an increase, 5294, other purchase, other services. This is actually due to last year's number. So as highway uses more police details, actually the sewer division uses less when it comes to police officers or police officers details. Let me just get the line item. I'm sorry, it's 5294. 5294. Okay, so that's the police details. It's actually, we reduced that. Last year was 6,000. This year we reduced that down to 4,000. So it's a minus 33.33% under that line item. Just like I said before, under the sewer division, we don't typically use a lot of police details, so that's why we reduced that. Okay, now under 5382, this line item is for the Springfield Water and Sewer Commission. Okay, last year's numbers were at $854,000 even. This year it's $961,211, an increase of 12.55%. Now, what I did for that is because of our true up projections and our estimated cost that Springfield Water and Sewer is for next year. So what I did is took their projections for last year and added on what the true up cost was for us this year. So actually we shortfalled last year of $88,057. So therefore the increase based on their projections and the true up costs for next year. Okay. Next and last line item in the sewer division is 5584, other supplies, uniforms. And that is for, like I said, in previous departments and or divisions. That's a contractual obligation to UniFirst, a actual increase of 4%, which in all actuality, last year was $2,500. This year it's $2,600. So this gives a total division total of an increase of 7.12% under the sewer division. Any questions?
Yeah, only one one question, Bruce. The water rates from Springfield, is that the current rates projected by Springfield, or is that the current rates that are holding right now?
These are the projection given to me, and they usually give this to me every year to help me with budget calculations and projections. So this is what they're estimating that we're going to spend, and let me just get that for you. This is August. This is the true up. Hold on. I just got to find it in my binder here. Okay, so treatment plant projections for East Long Meadow this year from Springfield Water and Sewer, $723,303. Then we have the main interceptor project, which allocation for East Long Meadow portion, that's the river crossing the Connecticut River, is going to be roughly $67,968. And then my estimated true up based on this year's numbers that were given to me, with a true up cost of $169,940. That gives us a total budget line item for the Springfield Water and Sewer Commission of $961,211. That answer your question, Phil?
Well, pretty much. I was just wondering how it aligned with our estimates that we had roughly for determining rates.
We're going to get to that. Like I said, in order for me to start projecting and doing my due diligence when it comes to rates and fees, I need obviously a operational budget to go by. I am hoping to forego any rate increases to the town residents this year. But once I need to do my calculations and do that whole exercise with you guys and to see if that can hold true. I'm hoping we can do that this year, and I'm not sure how the board feels about that. But that's my plan anyways, and I obviously take all the information from you guys that you guys know. Okay?
Thanks, Bruce.
You got it. We're ready to move on to the next division?
I am.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Under snow and ice, 423, 0 increases. Any questions? No? Okay, our next item is waste collection. This is our transfer station. So the only line that we did have an increase is 5111 part-time salaries, and that is just for the obviously minimum wage increases for next year. That's all that's for. So it's roughly a 2.2% increase with a total division increase of 0.49%. Okay. Questions? Nope. Okay. Moving on to the water division, 450. Under full-time salaries, 5110. Full-time salaries, that's like I said previously, that's for contractual obligation for our union employees at 2.8%. Under line item 5113, appointed salaries, that is for salary employees. That's a contractual obligations and or increase of 2.7% for contractual employees. Under 5130, overtime, I decreased that budget line item based on last year's numbers. So under last year's line item, we had $40,000 for overtime. I had decreased that to $35,000. So a total line item of minus 12.5%. Under the longevity line item 5140, that was increased for years of service for our union employees. That's actually kind of a large increase. It's about 105.9%. Last year was $595. This year it's $1,225. Next line item, 5191, under the clothing. And like I said previously, this is for union employees. Their increase is for their boot allowance, $275, their hoisters license, $75, and their $250 stipend for their cell phone. So it's a 71.4% increase. When all actuality, which equates to $1,000. So last year was $1,400. Next year it's going to be $2,400. Next line item, 5211, energy and electricity. This one is decreased based on last year's numbers. So I reduced that to help out the total division increase. So last year was $50,000. This year it's $40,000 with a line item decrease of minus 20%. Next line item, 552, where is that? Hold on. I got my line items messed up. So under, I'm gonna do this one first. Let me just do this one first. I'll get back. I'll go back up one in a minute. Under 5294, police details reduced based on last year's number. So police details, we just haven't used a lot of police details when it comes to water work. So it went from last year from $6,500 to $4,000, a minus 38.5% on that line. Under 5241, that is vehicle repairs. So this is for increased maintenance costs to the 10 pieces of equipment allotted under that division. So we're going from $25,000 to $33,000 at an increase of 32.0%.
Are any of those vehicles being replaced or requested in the capital plan?
I believe so, and I don't know if, I don't have my capital plan in front of me, Phil. I believe there is. I just don't have the plan in front of me, unfortunately, Phil, sorry.
So essentially, if we get the vehicles to some degree, that could be reduced.
Yes and no. Typically, when it comes to ordering a new vehicle, depending on when the money is bonded and allocated to the division, it typically takes 6 months to up to a year in order to get that piece of equipment on our lot, depending on what it is. So for a big dump truck, it typically takes about a year. Okay.
At a 33% increase or so, getting up there, it's important to start thinking about these replacements.
Right.
That the town should take into consideration.
Yep.
Because if this is what it's as an example of an increase due to not replacing trucks,
right,
then it gets expensive when you start dropping $10,000 increases or more per year.
Right. Oh, I agree. So just, yeah.
With those vehicles, Bruce, and the water department.
You're a little raspy. You're a little raspy.
Excuse me?
I could hardly hear you because you're coming through raspy.
All right. As far as the vehicles for that category, the only one that's in the near future that's going to be replaced in the near future would be the dump truck 4, which we had signed a contract for already. The rest of those are not on. Only one of those trucks in that department is on the 5-year capital plan right now, and that would be truck 11 to this. The rest of them are we're going to have quite a while, which would be truck 49 and I believe truck 12 and 77 are, I wouldn't say newer, they're at least five plus years. The biggest one is that truck 4, the dump truck.
Keep in mind as well, too, and I know we bid out any and all our maintenance items, oil filter, transmission filters, hydraulic oil, oil, all those items, those are percentage increases per year. So it's not only, like you said, the vehicle replacement, it's the maintenance cost that goes along with it. And that's what this line item is used for as well. Okay. Where did I leave off with vehicle repairs? So we're on. Okay. So line item 5213. This is solar credits. So I've reduced. Where is it? 5213. I'm sorry, it's just a big sheet. There's no difference in that line item. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting lost here on my big giant spreadsheet. Next item is line item 5307, professional technical others. We went from 45,000 to 47,000 for next year with an increase of 4.4%. This is increase for outside consultants for water-related projects. We're currently working on many different projects in-house, so working with Felix, we believe we needed to increase that by a couple $1,000s for next year. The next item is 5344, community communication and printing. This is the increase for a residential notification and mailings and billing. So this is just the apportioned cost that it costs for us to mail out our bills for next year. Okay, under line item 5382, this is the Springfield Water and Sewer Commission line item. That's an increase of 4.5%. Last year was $1,292,045. This year, it's $1,349,603. Like I said, with an increase of 4.5%. And obviously that's attributed to, just like the sewer division, based on Springfield Water and Sewer projections for East Long Meadow, their capital improvement projects for their West Allen Parish up on Cobble Mountain, and their true up projections for next year. The next line item under the water division, number 5584, other supplies uniform. That's an increase due to our contractual obligations with UniFirst. So last year was $2,500. This year it's $2,600, an increase of $100, but a line differential of 4.0% increase. This gives the total division increase for the water department of a 3.17% increase. Any questions on the water division?
I am all set.
Okay. Next division is our utilities division under 429. Okay. The really only big change, obviously under 5210 on our energy, gas, and oil, that's actually a decrease. Last year was $378,500. This year we reduced that to $365,000 even, with a decrease under that line item of minus 3.6%. Obviously, these figures are due to obviously my 3-year projections and just I guess some massaging of what we've actually are going to use this year based on unoccupied buildings and things of that nature. Under 5211, energy, electricity, that's also a decrease. It went from $312,800 last year to $303,800 with a decrease of minus 2.9%. And obviously that's based on last year's numbers and adjustments and what we figured we're going to spend this year under that line item. Under 5312, solar credits. Last year was $380,000. I've increased that this year to $400,000 with an increase under that line item of 5.3%. And the reason for that increase as well is actually as of December 31st, 2020, we expended roughly $196,000. Therefore, that's why I have increased that line item to $400,000 for this year. I knew it was going to be tight last year. We squeezed by, but this year, for next year, I don't think we're going to make it. So that's why I increased that line item by about $20,000. This gives a total division decrease of 0.23% for our utilities for the town of East Long Meadow. Any questions? Now, I
I
know,
like that one.
excuse me?
I like that one.
I'd like it even more if we could get more back on that solar net credits.
Right. All right, last.
Maybe we want more than 20%.
Right. Well, it's like he said, and I've been kind of communicating with Phil on the side. He's trying to understand some of the solar credits and everything else. It's very difficult to project what we're going to spend in utilities. And I've said this over and over, and we don't know how hot it's going to be. We don't know how cool it's going to be. So it's really, you need to have a little bit money in the bank. And like you said, it's very hard to project. And I do most of my projection based on a 3-year average. So I do my best. We decreased a little more this year. So hopefully it'll hold true, and we can continue this process moving forward once more data is collected.
Hey, Bruce,
Yes.
one of the things I would like to know is there an evaluation of that contract? If our usage is at certain levels, is there any chance of getting greater than that 20%?
Right.
The sharing or savings.
Right. Like I said,
You know,
Phil.
so I don't know if there's something in the contract without looking at it and questioning whether there should be a review since this is a 20-year agreement.
Right.
You know, and if the savings in absolute dollars become so great, maybe the town could get a little more out of that based upon volume, you know?
Right. I'll have to, like I said, I still haven't even located that contract, Phil. I looked on my computer, I haven't found it. I gotta go through my office and see if I can get that. I'm sure it's in there somewhere, but like I said, we'll dig it up and we'll start the review process, okay?
Thanks, Bruce.
Yep. Okay, last but not least, under the Stormwater Division, 490-5110 under full-time salaries, increased for contractual obligations. So it went from $62,687.14 last year to $64,261.19 for a line item increase of 2.5%. Under line item 5113, appointed salaries. This is for our salary employees. This is their percentage increase estimated for next year. Last year was $33,278.42. This year's $34,037.02 with a line item increase of 2.3%. Under line item 5191, this is that increase for the boot allowance, hoister's license, and that cell phone stipend for our union employees. So that line item went from $350 to $600 with a line item increase of 71.4%. Under line item 5241, repair vehicles. This is another line item for increased maintenance costs for our older vehicles. It's typically used for. So it went from $8,000 last year to $12,000 this year. And that percentage is wrong, I believe. It says a 50% increase from last year. I don't believe that 50% is accurate, but anyways, it went from $8,000 to $12,000 from last year.
That's right.
Excuse me?
It's a 50% increase.
It's 50%? Does it
Yeah.
equal 50%? Okay, thank you, Phil.
And it went to 12 from 8.
Okay, yep, gotcha. All right, next line item. 5307, professional technical others. This was reduced to offset our repairs line item of 5241. So last year was $75,000. We reduced that down to $70,000 at a decrease of 6.67%. Last but not least, under line item 5344, communication printing, just like our water and sewer division. This is actually, let me see, hold on. Actually, last year we had $1,000 in there for billing purposes. This year, we've increased that to $2,500 with an increase of 150%. Like I said, in past years, the burden of the billing went to water and sewer. So this year, we're actually splitting those up equally because our water, sewer, and stormwater divisions are enterprises funds, so they need to show true accounts of the money. So we split that evenly between the three divisions. Therefore, that was an increase from last year. So that gives a total division total of an increase of 1.85%. Any questions?
Bruce,
Yes.
yeah, communications printing, what is that, just printing the bills?
Yes, it's the printing of the bills. Yes.
But isn't that billing done with the normal water and sewer billing?
Yes, it is. But our stormwater fee is also on that bill. So
So what you do, to split the cost?
I split the cost evenly into thirds for the billing for next year. Any other questions? Okay. Hearing none. So the total public works budget for next year is $8,186,964.85, a total increase of 2.7%. Last year was $7,971,780. Total salaries for the public works, $3,096,510.29, with a total increase for next year of 1.3%. Total operational of all divisions. So this is all everything that doesn't have to do with salaries. This is all the line items from the vehicles down the operational expense line items. Last year was $4,914. $4,914,242.76. Next year will be, or for this upcoming year, FY20, will be $5,090,454.56, with a total increase of 3.6%. Under the general fund liability. So we have our enterprise funds that are separate from our general fund liabilities, which equals $3,927,364.09, a increase of 0.7% from last year, which was $3,901,763.72. Okay. Questions, concerns?
The operational budget, the operational all divisions, it's a pretty high number.
Operational all divisions. Yep. But that's every division. So that includes water, sewer, everything. So all those Springfield numbers, those big increases for water and sewer for the Springfield water inside, though, that is in that equation as well. Okay. I think and I don't know if this helps you, Tom, like I said, general fund liabilities is only 0.7%, and then the individual enterprise funds, obviously are their own entity and are self-sustaining funds based on our rates.
Yeah, my point being is that it's outpacing the economy, sort of thing.
Right. Well,
And
keep in
something we
mind-
need to,
Right. Yep. I understand. Keep in mind too, Tom, I didn't add anything extra in our budget. Obviously, this is a level services budget only where absolutely necessary. Okay. And don't forget too, as well, we still have one unfilled position that we haven't filled in the highway division as well. And some other things to think about that have been affected by this budget. Seasonal employees, you know, we didn't hire anybody last year. That has impacted the department under the highway division. So typically we have about $40,000. That's been reduced down to $20,000. So there is some significant changes to the department that you don't see, but it is reflected in the budget. So things to keep in mind.
yeah, but those are things that are going to add, that are going to increase that number.
Right. Exactly.
That's not a good trend. Is the point.
Well, right. I know.
Well, not only that, Tom, when you increase the total request for money for the Springfield water and sewer on our operating budgets, it's sort of outpacing our normal increase.
Right.
And that's a key thing to keep a watch on as we go forward, you know, and you know, we have to balance it out with capital projects and impacts on the water and sewer rates.
Right.
As we move forward. But between maintenance costs and reporting costs, maybe we need to get a handle on some of those costs with all these study programs. You know, go back to what's driving them, and are they required on a yearly basis? Can we stretch them out 2 years? You know, when we start dropping Ty bond $500,000 a year for studies, if they're related to EPA and our water and sewer departments, you know, we're gonna have to take a look at them very closely.
Well, keep in mind this too as well. We were looking to add another sewer division employee because there is a new NIPD's permit out as of right now. We'll be feeling that pain. This is going to require us to do more work in our sewer division. This is our National Pollution Discharge and Elimination System. So there are new regulations coming down the road all the time. And unfortunately, given, like I said, our level services budget for this year, I did not put in for another sewer division employee to help with that new permit. So we're going to have people doing double duty and trying to get everything done that we can within our means. So stay tuned.
I don't totally disagree with you as far as reflection of the work that's being required. The question comes down to is when we start challenging that work and going back to the initiators of it and saying, hey, you know, some of these requests got to be revised and stretched out. You know, you never want to say no to a good thing, but at the same time, your time limits of performing them is got to be moved out to get them done.
This started,
increases.
Right. This started about 3 years ago. Springfield Water and Sewer Commission did do their legal fight in court with and I'm not sure if the EPA themselves and or the DEP, but ultimately they lost, and we have to comply as usual with the EPA and the DEP. And I know we've talked about it numerous times, Phil, on challenging these federal regulation authorities, but I don't have the ability to do so, and I don't have a pocket full of money in order to spend on legal, legal challenges to some of these permits. I know it's a burden for us in here in East Long Meadow, but it's a burden throughout the state of Massachusetts in all the surrounding communities. I know Long Meadow's feeling it as well. It's unfortunate, and it is what it is, but like you said, I will keep you guys up to date as things change, okay?
Thanks, Bruce.
Yep.
Thank you, Bruce.
Yeah, you got it, Tom. So, Bill, I'm not sure how you guys want to proceed. If you want to have another meeting, are you guys happy with the budget I presented you?
I'll open it up for some discussion with Tom and Phil. Are you guys comfortable voting on it tonight, or do you want some more time to review it in more detail?
What do you think, Tom?
I'm not happy with it, but that being said, I mean, without nitpicking, you know, a lot of items that can be nitpicked. I mean, there's nothing we can do about the Springfield water and sewer, as much as I'd like to, you know, hold their feet to the fire. Without a lot of money for lawyers, it's kind of hard to have any control over that. Personally, I've always thought we've had too many vehicles, but now's not the time to address it with the COVID situation. Well, I'm not really happy with it. I'm okay with it.
And what specific, what are you not happy with? You think it's just each division or just the budget in its entirety?
Well, just the number in its entirety. I think we're gonna have to tighten our belt moving forward. Personally, things like uniforms. I mean, that's always been the way it's been done here. I think we could visit that. I think we could visit amount of vehicles, because there's a ton of associated costs there. But just given the COVID environment, I'm all right personally with this budget, but moving forward, we're really going to need to tighten the budget.
I don't disagree with Tom. There's areas we can nitpick on, and we haven't really attacked the vehicles like we were saying, between the maintenance costs and what's really required. When I get a list on capital with 10 vehicles out of 40 to be replaced in 1 year, we're gonna have to choose which ones we really need. And I'm sure you go through it with the capital budget review team,
Mm-hmm.
but sooner or later, we'd like to get rid of the ones that are driving those expenses in those repair accounts.
Yep.
They have to be addressed.
Right.
You know, to reduce these other expenses that you're fixing equipment that's gonna break down every year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we can't maintain a 3 to 4% increase in these budgets to help out the town overall. You know, even if we're going up almost 1 to 2% on bottom line, the overall town request is even higher to some degree, but there's other drivers there. But we all have to contribute to that total. But it still means that we should still be looking at how we can run our department more efficiently and challenge requests to some degree, or they have to be pushed out into the future because you only have limited resources to address them. Right. And we should be doing that as much as possible, no matter what the source is coming from. You have limited amount of manpower; they could only do so much, and then some of it is weather dependent on whether it gets done or not. And when I hear Tom talk about the expenditures with the landfills, those are going to be greater expenses as we move forward to clean up messes.
Right.
You know,
I can tell you as of right now, we do not have enough employees, just so you all know, to perform all the work that is required by the Department of Public Works.
and I thought, without even thinking, I would not disagree with you.
Right.
All I see is more and more and more requests that are dependent upon our department.
Right.
With a limited amount of resources, human resources, in an environment that that restricts you from doing work.
Right, right,
And if we think it's gonna go away in just a year, I'm not so sure.
right,
And then you have the turnover of people, so you lose an experience. So that lowers productivity.
right.
That Daryl talked about, and stuff. So there's a lot of challenges all around the place, and overall, I think you do a good job. The department does an excellent job given what is given, but it's not going to get. It's only going to get tougher
Right, right,
as we move forward.
okay.
I would still like to look at the water, sewer, and the storm. I would not want to vote to approve those without looking at it a little more and understanding the total rate structure for the enterprise funds.
I told you I cannot give you any kind of rates and fees or anything until I have a baseline to go with. So that will be my next step once we approve a budget, okay?
When do you have to have this submitted for, Bruce?
Friday.
Okay, thanks, Bruce.
That's always the kicker.
What do you think, Bill?
You guys, all your points made sense. And we've talked about the vehicles in the past and trying to figure
Right.
out where we can trim fat with the vehicles. But like you said, Tom, now's not the time to be talking about that with COVID. Looking at, what kind of vehicles do we have and do they make sense for the town? Do we need that? And I know some of them might be perks for some of the guys, but it's for the good of the better, for the good of the whole, I guess, right? The overall increase, 2.69%. I'm not sure what inflation is this year, but it's it's under 3%, which I like to see, I guess. The Springfield water and sewer is obviously a huge hit, 12% increase. That's insane. And it's not a small number. It's
No.
over $100,000. So I think there's a lot of costs that we can't control that are outside of our purview. The stuff that Tom's doing under the all the regulatory stuff, the MS4 permitting, that's all, man hours that, are getting taken away from somewhere else in the town. So yeah, it's not probably where we want it to be, but I'm not sure where will we trim, I guess, is the question, right?
That's what I need to know.
If we're going to trim, what makes sense for this year? And I would say we would probably say vehicles. That's the easy one. You double up people in vehicles, or you do shuttles, whatever you got to do, but you can't do that with COVID environment. A lot of the stuff is contractual. The uniform stuff went up quite a bit this year with the licensing, but I believe that's all contractual, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much the board gets involved with negotiations, but I'm not sure how that happens in the town with how negotiations happen, but that's the time to address that. Obviously, it's not in between contract cycles.
It's a brand new contract, so we got 3 years on that, so it's going to be a little while. And that's what I tried to do when developing the budget, is obviously it's the lion's share of all our increase or contractual obligations for salaries for employees and Springfield Water and Sewer. I believe any and all the other costs are negligible based on their increase in dollar figure. But
Bruce, how hard would it be to break out, maybe in a separate column showing what's contractually obligated and kind of outside of our control costs, right, for O&M?
right,
Make a column, yes or no, we have control over this item, or no, we don't. It's contractually obligated from, a third party like
Sure.
Springfield, where we don't have a choice but to buy the service, or it's a union contract. That way we have a better idea of the things we have control over.
okay. Why don't I do that? I will revise this tomorrow and get this sent out to you. And obviously the ones that we don't have any control over, I will list those so you can actually get a better understanding of what's happening in the total budget. Okay.
Because we can trim 50% off all the fat, but if it's a pot of money only 50 grand, that's
Right.
really not going to make a big dent in the overall budget.
Right. And yeah, keep in mind, like I said, when it comes to the enterprise funds, those are separate entities and standalone. but they do,
Guys.
they do make an impact, obviously, based on the rates and fees. And like I said, the lion's shares do come from the Springfield Water and Sewer. So I will do that and get that out to you, and then we'll schedule our next meeting.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
Phil, Tom, you guys good with that?
Sure.
So will that be before the end of the week, Bruce, that we have to have another meeting to vote on this?
I will try. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that or not, but we'll try to do it as quick as we can. Okay.
Okay.
And Mary, I see you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, don't worry about Friday's date for that
Okay.
purpose.
Okay. Thank you. So that's what I'll do for the board.
All right, good discussion, and it's
Yep.
it's good to have the critical feedback, right? Just trying to figure out
Absolutely.
where we can
Absolutely.
get better. All right, thanks, Bruce, for that. I know it's a lot of work putting the budgets together every year. It's a pain in the butt, but
It's all good.
yep.
Overall,
right,
overall, Bruce, I think you did very well.
Thank you.
All right, on to other business. I know we had some discussion going back and forth via email and from last meeting for the National Grid streetlight conversion, or do we want to go to the Billings Hill Cemetery? I know we have Jim on the line here. We can maybe take care of him first.
That sounds good to me.
Okay, it's my turn. I'd like to thank Bruce for inviting me to the meeting when I wrote a letter to the town manager back in October. I never dreamed I'd be in front of the board on this issue. But anyway, I sent the letter I believe the board has copies of, and I've tried to explain our position on having a cemetery pay a waste or a stormwater fee. We have limited funds. We can't raise any more. In our particular case, all our conventional graves are sold. And for the last 22 years, Jim McKnight, who used to be a member of your board, and I have worked to build up our treasury so that we have enough money to maintain the property into perpetuity. So I just feel that it's improper and immoral to charge a cemetery that can't raise funds, a nonprofit cemetery, to pay this particular tax or fee. And lastly, there was some discussion about your billing expenses and what have you. I really don't think you can send out a bill to our cemetery for $7.50, have us send you money back and process the whole thing without costing the town money. And that's really all I have to say.
Okay. Yep. Thank you, Jim. Yeah, we got to review your letter. It makes sense to me. I guess my question to Bruce is, how many cemeteries do we have in town? And I guess, how are they zoned, right? Does it make sense to zone them residential? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Hey, Bruce, I sort of reviewed that stormwater listing, with the land use codes.
Yep.
Do we, getting back to Bill's question, it's the same question I had too, do we have 4, 5, or 6 cemeteries in town?
I think
It looked like when I look at the land use codes, there was at least 4. But there's, in that land use coding of 962B, listed about 4 or 5 names of which I could recognize as a cemetery, but I'm not sure. But it also included the First Congregation Church in the parkway of the church. Because at first I would have said, I read the letter and I wanted to look at total exempt property in the town. And that you supplied me some information, because I was saying, well, should we be taxing any exempt property along with the property taxes? So I was torn between that, and then I said, well, maybe if we just looked at cemeteries by themselves, because I come down to the conclusion that even if it's a church or a nonprofit organization that raises funds, through drives and stuff, they're able to pay a water bill, a sewer bill, the stormwater bill. But cemeteries, I tend to agree with the letter from Jim. If it's only 4 or 5 cemeteries in town, and maybe they're all on the same use code, it would be easy to spike them out. But I would like to know: is it 4, 5, 6, or 7?
Hey, do you have that information? I don't know. I don't have that. I thought we were here.
Well, there's only, I believe there's only 3 active cemeteries: Billings Hill, Green Lawn, down off of Pleasant Street, and Baptist Cemetery
Hill.
out on Parker Street.
There's
All-
the Ron Porter as well.
So
Pardon?
that might be the 4, but if you look at Land Use Code 962V, which I believe all the cemeteries are in, there's a couple other properties in that coding. And my question would be, why was the First Congregation Church putting the same as the cemetery?
I don't think this is the proper venue to start talking about all our stormwater fees and codes. I think we're here to discuss Billings Cemetery. If and when we start our rates and fees, we should probably discuss restructure our entire rates fee in order to incorporate what you guys are talking about. Okay? Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
I agree as well. I mean, this is something that needs to be addressed in the larger picture, because I think that he falls under a couple different groups.
So I guess it's up for discussion for the board on whether to grant Mr. Rintoul's request and or not, or open it for discussion. And like I said, if we want to discuss our rates and fee structure when it comes to stormwater, we should discuss that when we do our rates and fees.
Yeah, I think, like you said, Bruce, has a separate discussion about how we structure the tiers for the stormwater fee. But I guess, well, we can open up for discussion or a vote. I'm suggesting a vote to abate the $7.50 quarterly billing to the Billings Hill Cemetery. Any discussions before we move to that?
Well, if we're gonna do one, why don't we do the 3 or 4?
Because we're only talking about the one right now.
Well, I just don't think it would be fair to take one versus the other.
Well, I'm not sure.
I understand he put the request in, but you're talking about 3 that he mentioned, and I'm sure they're all in the same boat. Baptist Hill and the other one are no different. So my whole bit is, would we want to make a motion to exempt the cemeteries?
I'm kind of torn on this one, guys. So yes, I understand, and I'm sensitive to that. And, personally, I think that we should not bill them or I mean, what's the lowest bill you can give them? I mean, everybody's got responsibility here just by virtue of having real estate in the town. But the other thing on the other side of the argument is the can of worms you open up when, if you're going to give him forgiveness, then every nonprofit in town then is opened up to forgiveness. And that's where it's like, finding the balance. What is the correct thing to do here?
A suggestion, Bill?
Yes.
Well, if you don't mind, maybe table it and get an opinion from town council, because I do think that the treatment of all similarly situated entities is key. I think maybe a quick request to our law firm might help you make a decision that makes sense for everyone.
That's a great suggestion.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, we'll make a motion to table this until we can confer with the town council.
So moved.
Second. All right, all in favor? I'm a yes. Tom?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Rintoul, we'll table the discussion to the next meeting, and in that time, we'll have a chance to talk to the town council and get back an answer for you.
I think that's very fair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim. Okay.
All right, and let me get the agenda pulled back up here. Give me a second. All right, and we also had the National Grid streetlight conversion discussion going on. Is there any updates with that, Bruce or Tom?
The update will be probably at the next meeting. I'm meeting with them at the end of the week.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so the last agenda item is to schedule the next meeting. Bruce, I guess we'll just wait till we hear back from you via email and figure out when the next meeting is going to be.
Yes, what I'll do is, like I said, I'll do those budgetary line items, and hopefully, if things go well, I'll get it to you tomorrow. And then based on our emails back and forth, maybe we can schedule a meeting sometime next week. Do you guys have any specific days open next week? Or would you be comfortable with planning a meeting next week?
Anytime you need me, just let me know, and I would get with the guys.
Yes.
To approve the budget.
Same here. I'm flexible.
Okay.
Yeah, do you want to just plan for a week from today?
Why don't we do that? Just to, yeah, why don't we do that? If that's okay.
That works for me. Tom, are you good with that? Phil?
Yes.
I'm good with that.
All right, so we'll plan again for the 26th at 4, I guess.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your help on this.
Thanks, Bruce.
So the next meeting will be January 26th at 4 p.m. via Zoom, and I will send out the agenda and everything else that goes along with it.
All right, great.
All right, thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Bruce. All right, at this time, I'll make a motion to adjourn the Board of Public Works meeting for the January 19th meeting.
I'll
Second.
close it.
All right, Phil, I heard the motion, and then Tom seconded it. All in favor, Tom,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
and yes for me. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Good night.